Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
The respectable all of my fellow member group tonight. We are from the fifth group, and we would like to present our group presentation under the title Cohesion in Descriptive Discourse by the sixth semester student of the English Department of FPBS IKIP Ujung Pandang. And as you can see on the screen, our group member consists of 8 persons, and as the first, and then our first presenter would like to deliver by Siska. The next one is Aziza. The third is Saharatul. Next is Yuni. The next is Ismiati, and then Andi Ansari, Sir Andi Ansari, and then I myself, me, Surahmat Agus Munandar, and the last one is Nur Aziza Samsudin. And then without any further ado or without wasting any much time, I would like to give the time and screen for the first presenter, Miss Siska. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. So time and the screen is yours.
Okay. Thank you for the chance that has been given to me. So in this occasion, I would like to explain about chapter 1, which is background. Background here consists of several parts. There are introductions, research problems, research purposes, significance of the research, and then assumptions. Next, please. So the first one, I would like to explain about introductions. Yes. So today, language teaching methodologies are promoting a relatively new method of language teaching known as communicative language teaching, or CLT. So this method assumes that language is naturally a means of communications. Therefore, a language is used to convey message from the addresser to the addressor. This assumption has led CLT to give more emphasis on the teaching of language use. Method of CLT make language learners be able to communicate their intended message as well as possible to other people. And giving more emphasis on the teaching language, CLT requires analysis of language use for its implementations. And the analysis of language use is often called discourse analysis. With the discourse analysis, the language elements supporting the communicativeness of language in use can be described, and the descriptions of these aspects will be beneficial for the implementation of CLT. And then the scope of discourse analysis is very wide. It covers the analysis of elements inside or outside the discourse under analysis. And the analysis of elements inside the discourse is often known as text analysis. One important element that we can analyze under the text analysis is cohesions. Cohesions can be classified into many types depending on the types of what we call cohesive device. And a very general classification of cohesions is divided into two. The first is grammatical cohesions, meaning that it's established by grammatical items such as reverence, substitutions, ellipses, and conjunctions. And the second is lexical cohesions, meaning that cohesion established by lexical items. And lexical items here include lexical reiterations and lexical collocations. And cohesion with its varieties hold a very important roles in creating a text. And according to Halliday and Hassan, cohesion functions to provide a texture. By these rules, cohesion helps to create text. Yes, it is acknowledged that cohesion is just one of text-forming components. There are still some others, but however, cohesion here holds a special role in creating a text. And then some study of cohesions have been conducted to particular types of discourse written by English learners abroad. Two of them are Crowhurst and then Khalil. Their studies are restricted in the search of the types of cohesions and its frequency of the occurrence in particular types of discourse. Crowhurst studies cohesion in argumentative discourse, while Khalil here studies cohesions in expository discourse. And then another study of cohesions in different types of discourse seems necessary to conduct in order to broaden the available knowledge in cohesions. And since the study of cohesion in descriptive discourse have been conducted, so it is important to know a study of cohesion in this type of discourse. And then in an attempt to meet the necessity of studies of cohesion in descriptive discourse, the present study is conducted. So the present study of cohesion is conducted in the descriptive types of discourse written by EFL learners at IKIP Ujung Pandang. And then the obtained findings may be different, but the meaning of the descriptive discourse and the study may perform differently in its occasions. The prevailing variation of cohesion used in descriptive discourse may involve different types of cohesions due to the characteristics of the discourse, or the variety of cohesion used in the discourse might be too limited due to the lack of the writer's ability in using cohesive device. So by thinking of this, the writer is inspired to search for the state of cohesions in learner's language. It is specified in descriptive discourse written by the students of the English department of FPBS IKIP Ujung Pandang. And the session here is taken for some considerations. First, the students of this level are supposed to be able to write a short descriptive essay. And the second is the study of cohesion have never been conducted to these studies. And the third one, the writer himself is teaching at the institute, so it is not difficult for him to conduct the research. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, now it's about research problem. So there are three main research problems here. The first problems, what types of cohesion occur in the descriptive discourse written by English language learners? And the problem two, what is the frequency of the occurrence of each type of cohesion in descriptive discourse written by English language learners? And the problem three, what is the cohesive harmony of the descriptive discourse written by English language learners? Next, please. Okay, so the next is about research purpose. So the study is conducted to establish a description about the state of cohesion in descriptive discourse written by English language learner, specifically in the 6th semester students of the English department of FPBS IKIP Ujung Pandang. So the description here will include 3 points. The first one is the description of the variety of cohesion in the student's discourse, such as description will inform the readers which type of cohesion that occur in the discourse under analysis. And in addition, also, the description will also cover the problems that the students encounter in using the identified types of cohesion. And then the second description is the frequency of occurrence of each type of cohesion. So this informs the readers which type of cohesions dominantly occurs in the types of discourse. And then the third description is about the degree of cohesive harmony of the student's discourse. So this informs the readers how good the cohesive harmony of the student's discourse is. And Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide is about the significance of the study. So the goal of CLT comprises that learners are able to use the target language in real communications. In other words, the learners are expected to have communicative competence. Okay, next slide. Okay, now it's about assumptions. So the study is facilitated with two assumptions. The first one is the students of the English department of FPBS IKIP Ujung Pandang who are taken as the subjects of the study. This is the sixth semester of students of satu program know how to write a descriptive discourse. And this assumption is acceptable because the students have completed the course of writing 1 and writing 2. And in the course of writing 1, they are taught cohesion for sentence combining, and in writing 2, they are taught essay writing, specifically in the writing of narrative and descriptive types. Thus, it is reasonable if they are assumed that to know how to write descriptive discourse. And the second assumption here is the discourse they write reveals as the reflection of their writing skill, providing that test administrations to elicit the required data is conducted seriously as if they were assigned to do as a test for an examinations. Okay, and next slide, please. So the last part is about limitation. So there are 3 limitation as you can see in the slide. The first one is the first limitation is the present study only concerned with a particular type of discourse, that is written descriptive discourse. And the second limitation deals with the problems discussed with the state of cohesions. And the third limitations deals with the subject of the study. So the subject only a group of Indonesian EFL learners, which involves 28 students of the present 6th semester students of the English department of FPBS IKIP Ujung Pandang, who produced 28 descriptive compositions. So I think that's all for my part. Now I hand over to moderator.
All right, thank you very much. It was such a really nice presentation. So I would like to invite the second presenter, and Miss Aziza, are you ready? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, time and the screen is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Zahratul Ainidani and I will explain about chapter 3, that is research methodology. In this chapter, the following point: research design, population and sample, research instrument, data collecting, and data analysis. Next. The first is research design. This research was used descriptive method, which includes a content analysis. According to BES 1981, as a content analysis, researchers must accurately describe the condition of student discourse which discuss the state of cohesion in descriptive discourse written by students of the English department of FPBS IKIP Ujung Pandang. And population and sample. The sample of this study were 26 students of the English department of FPBS IKIP Ujung Pandang in 1990. That was because the 6th semester students have completed essay writing in writing 2 course, which they have been told to write descriptive essays and active in the class. Meanwhile, the population of the students were the 6th semester students at that time, and in the future student of the English department of FPBS IKIP Ujung Pandang. Next. Okay, the third is research instrument. The instrument of this research was a composition test of descriptive discourse that written by 6 semester student of the English Department of APB's IKIP in Padang. In this test, students were required to develop a descriptive essay in 200 words. Descriptive discourse was an analysis because it is simpler than the other type of discourse. And also, descriptive discourse was preferred because it is often used in specific writings, especially in thesis writing. The determinant of number of words in the essay is about 200 words. It is enough to describe something assigned the student can product relatively the same composition, and it is enough to analyze its cohesion by developing one of the topics that student like, such as the place that she or he usually visits or a person that she or he admire. And the last is data collection. The data was obtained from a composition that tests in a descriptive in discourse written by 6 semester students of the English Department of FPB's IKIP Ujung Pandang. And for data analysis will be explained by Zahratul Ainigani.
Thanks for the chance that has been given to me. Today, I would like to explain my material. It is about data analysis in the chapter 3. So, in the first part, there are research data. So, in line with the problems discussed, the data required to answer the problem comprises 3 types. So the first is the types of cohesion. So it is discussed the type of cohesion in the quality of students. Each type is identified with additional notes introduced to explain the amount of quality or composition of what types of cohesion occurs. And then some problems are found in the use of cohesion presented to make the reader see what cohesion problems are faced by the subject. And then in the second is there is the frequency of cohesion. So it is explained the frequency that occurs in cohesion in the composition of students. This includes several things like the frequency of occurrence of cohesion in all compositions, and then the average frequency of occurrence of cohesion in all compositions, and then the frequency of occurrence of each type of cohesion in each composition. And the last is the occurrence frequency of occurrence of each type of cohesion in all composition. And the last type is the degree of cohesive harmony. So it is explained the level of cohesion, the level of cohesive compatibility of students' compositions. So in this includes the degree of cohesive alignment of all compositions, and the second is the average degree of cohesive alignment of all compositions, and this and the next is composition with a high degree of cohesive compatibility, and the last is composition with a low degree of compatibility. And then we move to the method of analysis. So the method of analysis is based on the theory of cohesion analysis and cohesive harmony analysis described by Halliday and Hassan, which is the problem of frequency cohesion has been solved after following the theory of Hassan, and the cohesive and cohesive harmony analysis procedure involve the following steps. So the first is a cohesion analysis for problem 1 and 2. Some steps are taken in the cohesion analysis, so we can see the step input as follows. So the first is identify key units. Um, sorry. In this section, the first and second research problem relate to the type of cohesion that occurs in student statement by involving the frequency that occurs in each cohesion. So here we go. We can see at the step in a cohesion analysis to obtain evidence on this issue. So the first is they are identifying T units. So these parts use the theory of cohesion analysis proposed by Halliday and Hassan, which has been discussed in the chapter 2, which state that the first step can be identified the T units in the analysis of cohesion in each compositions. This becomes an independent follows with Iris subordinates so that a sentence consisting of more than one T units in each composition can be identified by the number of Halliday and Hassan theories. And the next is identifying cohesion among T units. So this section explains that cohesion is a semantic relationship between T units which is characterized by the presence of cohesive device that rely on other items in different T units so that the existence of references, substitutions, ellipses, conjunction, or lexical repetition or collocation in units. Different T will indicate the presence of semantic. So we move in the labels. So this is there are labels or codes to identify the type of cohesion, like pronominal reference, demonstrative and definite article reference, comparative reference, nominal substitutions, verbal substitution, causal substitution, nominal ellipsis, verbal ellipsis, causal ellipsis, adjective conjunction, adversative conjunction, causal conjunction, temporal conjunction, other consecutive conjunction, lexical alliteration, and lexical collaboration. So, okay. So, a cohesion analysis table is also provided to facilitate cohesion, identification, and labeling. So the data consists of the following columns. Using this table, it is easy to identify the amount of cohesion in each composition. So this is the table of cohesion analysis. There is the unit number, presupposing items, presupposed item, and types of cohesion. So we can see the formula in the part of finding the frequency of occurrence of cohesion. So the formula below is used to get the frequency that appears in each cohesive text. So F is the frequency of occurrence and C is cohesion. So still in the step, we found the frequency of occurrence for each type of cohesion. The formula used was as follows: Fx. So where X is a particular types of cohesion. Okay. And then the frequency of cohesion in all composition is obtained by the following formula. So where Fc is the apparent frequency of cohesion in all texts and N is a number of texts. So by using a cohesive analysis procedure, we can see the answer to the two problems, which is the first problem is the types of cohesive used in students' composition, which is explained by based on the identified cohesive. And the second problem regarding the cohesive frequency can be seen from the result of the second calculation, the formula above. So next is cohesive harmony analysis for problem 3. So the procedure of cohesive harmony analysis involves the following steps. So the first is identifying T units. This step is the same as the first step of cohesion analysis, and then the second is lexical rendering by this step. So items in each key unit that were possibly related were identified because this item includes content words such as verbs, noun, adjective, pronouns, and adverbs, and the function words. Then the total number of tokens TT is obtained from function words such as demonstrative and defined adjective, and this number refers to the number of items received from the lexical rendering. And the next is configuring cohesive chains, chains interaction. So in these steps, items that are semantically related to each other are grouped into chains. So the items can be related to each other because of their shared references during classification or coextension. And in this step, we obtain the relevant number of tokens, RT, and the number refers to the number of tokens that enter into the cohesive chains. And then configuring chains in the interaction. So in these steps, we identify certain chains members that relate to other chains members. A chain's interaction is configured for at least two other chains members, and their relationship may be referred as a relationship of attributes. Example like take, teddy bear, and action goal. Example words or actor, action, location. For example, girl goes among the number of items entered into a chain interaction will be regulated as a number of central tokens or CT. And the next is obtaining the degree of cohesive harmony. So after completing the previous step, we can finally obtain the level of cohesive alignment of each step. So the formula is as follow this. So where KH is a degree of cohesive harmony, and then CT is the number of central tokens, and the TT is the number of total tokens. And the next is the average degree of cohesive harmony of all composition analysis is obtained using the following formula, where KH is the average degree of cohesive harmony and N is the number of the text under analysis. So CT is the total number of tokens. The degree of cohesive alignment can range from 0.00 to 0.1. Here, the Hassan state that 0.50 is the smallest degree for coherent text, and on the basis of this understanding, text with the cohesive compatibility level lower than 0.50 are considered low, whereas those with 0.50 or higher were high. After completing all the steps of the cohesive harmony analysis, we can now answer the third problem in this research, namely the state of cohesive harmony of the student's composition and the average degree of cohesive compatibility of all analysis composition was obtained using the following formula. So this is the formula. Okay. So yeah, this is the formula where the CH is the average degree of cohesive harmony and N is the number of the text under analysis. Okay. I think that's all from my presentation. Thanks for the attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and I will give it back to the moderator.
Okay, so it was such a really great presentation for previous presenter. So I would like to move to the next presenter, and she will about to explain the chapter 4 by Miss Yuni. Time and the screen is yours, Miss.
Okay, thank you for the chance given to me. Here I will explain about the types of cohesions that found in this thesis. There are 14 types of cohesions. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the first is about the reference. Reference is used to refer to things in your writing in order to create cohesions. It is the replacement of the words and expressions with pronoun forms. The first type is pronominal reference. Pronominal reference is reference by means of functions in the speech situation through the category of persons. It is a reference by means of functions into a speech situation through the category of the persons in the form of personal pronouns. For example, as we can see, at home, my father is himself. He relaxes and acts in his normal manner. The word he is the pronominal that refers to word my father. Okay, the second type is demonstrative reference. Is a reference by means of locations on a scale of proximity. Demonstrative reference is essentially a form of verbal pointing that the speaker identify the reference by locating it on a scale of proximity. And for example, I like the lions and I like the polar bears. These are my favorites. Those are my favorites too. The words these and those in the example are the demonstrative reference for the words lions and the polar bears. The third type is comparative reference, is indirect reference by means of identity or similarity. For example, there were twice as many people there as last time. This example means that a comparison of quantity with numeral as comparisons and the word last time as the reference of the comparisons. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the next type is about substitutions. They consist of nominal substitutions and verbal substitutions. Substitution is the replacement of one linguistic item by another items. For example, the replacement of one word with another word. Nominal substitutions refers to relation established by the presence of a noun or a noun phrase. For example, do you remember that thunderstorm we had the last time we are here? That was a terrifying one. The word one in the second sentence has a relation to the noun thunderstorm in the first sentence. Here, the word one is the substitute of that thunderstorm word. The next is verbal substitutions. It refers to relations established by the substitutions of a verb or a verb phrase. For example, I don't know the meaning of half those long words. And what's more, I don't believe you do either. It seems here that the word do in the sentence, I don't believe you do either, it substitutes the verb, the meaning of half those long words in the preceding sentence before. Next slide, please. Okay, the next type is ellipsis cohesions that consist of nominal, verbal and clausal ellipsis. Ellipsis is an occasion when words are deliberately left out of sentence, though the meaning can still be understood. The leaving out of words or phrases from sentence where they are unnecessary because they have already been referred or mentioned in the previous sentence. Nominal ellipsis means the ellipsis within the nominal group or the common noun that may be omitted and the function of had taken on by one of the other elements. For example, here are my two white silk scarves. Where are yours? For in these questions, we can know what yours means. He is asking about the two white silk scarves. And the next is verbal ellipsis. It defines as a verbal group whose structure doesn't fully express its systematic features. For example, have you been swimming? Yes, I have. And other example is what have you been doing? Swimming. The two verbal groups in the answer yes, I have, and the answer swimming are both the instances of verbal ellipsis. Both stands for have been swimming, and there is no possibility of filling out with any other items. The other ellipsis is clausal ellipsis, considered as the expressions of the various speech functions such as statement, questions, response, and so on, has a two-part structures consisting of modal element plus propositional element. For example, who was going to plant a row of poplars in the park? The Duke was. Incomplete answer supposed to be the Duke was going to plant a row of poplars in the park. But here, the Duke was is as the modal elements, and the going in the phrase going to plant a row of poplars in the park is a prepositional element for the modal elements in clausal ellipsis. Okay, that's all from me about types of cohesions. The other 6 types of cohesions will be explained by Ismiati. Thank you. Back to the moderators.
Okay, then I will continue the material about type of cohesion. The next type of cohesion is conjunction, and it refers to relation established by the presence of elements that presuppose the presence of other elements in the text, and the elements are as conjunction. And here the conjunction is classified into 5 types. First, we have additive conjunction. So this type of conjunction in the text is only found one kind of item which can be noted from the data source, such as the word "and." As you can see, no one wants to be rejected, and to prevent rejection, we change our behavior. When the word "and" is used alone as a cohesive items, as distinct from "and then," it often seems to have the sense of there is something more to be said or an alternative interpretation. It can be seen in the sentence. Like I said before, no one wants to be rejected, and to prevent rejection, we change our behavior. The next type of conjunction is adversative conjunction. The core meaning of adversative conjunction is contrary to expectation from the content, what is being said, or external, or from the communication process, or the internal. The example here is small children usually change their behavior because they want something they don't have. However, changed her behavior because she wants to become part of new group. The adversity here is shown by the word however. Next is we have causal conjunction. In general, the causal relation indicate the relation between sentences that express what follows in the result of as consequence of the previous. For example, here is today society sets the standards. The people more or less follows it. Consequently, there exists the right behavior for the specific situation at hand. The causal conjunction is consequently. And the next conjunction is temporal conjunction. The temporal relation occur when the sequence of events in sentence are related in terms of time. The one is subsequent to the other, and this relation is expressed externally by its symbols from then. For the example here is the word before. In the sentence of a friend of mine went to an outstate college before she left. She expressed her feelings about playing to win new friends. The temporal conjunction here is shown in the word before. Next slide, please. Okay. The last conjunction that have been found in this thesis is other continuative conjunction. The continuative found in the sentence in the text, is the word of course. This is something we all learn as children, and we of course also learn which behavior are right for which. Of course, the word of course, this means you should have know that already. It is typically used, therefore, to discern someone into accepting something the speaker now he is likely to reject. The last we have lexical pre-iteration. Lexical iteration is type of lexical question, a form that is mean a form of lexical question which involve repetition, synonym, or near synonym. So, in here, in the sentence, we found the water is quite calm, but sometimes people find a dead person drift into the water. People consider that he be sunk. This is the one of the example um, from the findings that found in this thesis. Next slide, please. Okay, so the second question formulated in chapter 1 and found as the finding in this research is frequency of occurrence. So next slide. Okay, as you can see in your screen, this is the table of the frequency of occurrence of question refers to the occurrence of question in each T unit. The data analysis provide evidence. The table is provide evidence to the question. Yes, findings expressed in a table like in your screen. Okay, the findings maintain that the frequency of occurrence of each type of question is different from one to another. For example, the first one is lexical reiteration occurs much more frequently than the others. It occurs 9.99 times per T unit, followed by pronominal reference in the second frequent type. It occurs 0.55 times per T unit, and demonstrative reference is the third, and it occurs about 0.36 time per T unit. The other type occur very rarely, from the most frequent to the least. All of the types of question in the student's composition are ordered as displayed. You can see in the page 92 in the finding of this thesis. And beside that, the finding maintained that the average frequency of in all composition under analysis is 3.50. This means that in general, question student discourse occur 3.50 times in each T unit. Next slide. Okay, so this is the third question concerned with the states of cohesive harmony of the student discourse, and the data, as you can see in your screen, is provide evidence. The researcher provide the evidence to the question, and the evidence maintain that the ratio of central tokens or CT to the total tokens TT, expressing the degree of cohesive harmony of the students' discourse, and the discourse range from 0 0.20 to 0.83, and the ratio of more than 0.50 occur only in 6 of the 28. It's about 21.43%. The composition under analysis, and the most of the composition is about 78.53% have lower degree than the lowest degree for a coherent text, and the average degree of cohesive harmony of the students composition is only 0.40 or lower than the degree required for coherent text. Next, I think that's all from my explanation. I give it back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you very much for your explanation. So let's jump to the next presenter, Mr. Andi Ansari. Time is yours, sir. Mr.
Okay, thank you, the moderator. Give me the chance. Okay, in this chapter we will discuss about discussion of findings. There are 4 parts here. The first is problem discuss, and the second is answer to the problems, and the third interpretation, and the fourth is comparison to other studies. So there are 3 problem discussed here as the previous speaker explained about. The first is what type of cohesion occur in descriptive discourse written by the 6th semester students of English Department of FPDS IKIP Ujung Pandang, and the second is the frequency of cohesion, and the third is the degree of cohesive harmony. Okay, for the answer to the problem, the first is type of cohesion. Actually, there are in the dissertation, there are 16 cohesion that described by Holiday, but the writer only found 15 cohesion in his study. The frequency of occurrence, here, lexical iteration, 1.9090 times, pronominal reference 1.55 times, demonstrative reference 0.36 times, and other types are not more than 0.1 times. And this frequency of occurrence is used common in the students. So these 3 type of cohesion is mostly used from 28 students that examine in this study. So the degree of cohesive harmony from 0 to 20 to 0.63 for the average is 0.40, and 21.43% have more than 0.50, and 78.57% have less than 0.50. Okay, I will continue to the type of cohesion, as explained before, there are only 15. There are only 14 cohesion found in this study. Actually, 12 is the list of Haliday and Hassan, and the two bottom of this list is the found by student. From the pronominal reference until lexical iteration, and causal substitution and lexical collocation is from the student. And most of the students use 3 to 9 types of cohesion. But the average of students use 6 until 7 types of cohesion, and 25 use 6 type of cohesion, and 32.15% use 7 type of cohesion. Okay, there are 3 types of cohesion are common student use. The first is lexical iteration, 57.95% here, and pronominal reference 25.4%, and demonstrative reference 11.19%. Students are used this type of cohesion. And some problem actually occur in this first problem that the writer found. The first is student use inappropriate form of personal references encountering to ambiguity. So they use personal reference that we cannot identify which one is they mean for their reference, and then use the unnecessary demonstrative reference as defined article the. So there are many article the without any function here. We can delete it actually for the best meaning, and overuse lexical iteration instead of using ellipsis or substitution. Okay, that's all for my presentation. I give it back to the moderator.
Well, thank you very much for your explanation, and it was such a really insightful. So me as the next presenter, I would like to continue the next material, the next part that have been presenting by my partner. So in this part, as you can see on the screen, I would like to explain you the interpretation. So based on the answer to the problem discussed, some interpretation can be described, and the interpretation of each answer is therefore presented in this following section. So language performance can be used to measure language ability, and the language performance of language learner is a clear indication of their language ability. And in relation to this, the fact that the most of the students use only 6 to 7 types of cohesion, and then may imply that the most of them have been familiar with the use of 6 to 7 types of cohesion. And then the next is of the 6 to 7 types of the cohesion they have been familiar with, it seems that there are only 3 types of the most of the students have been familiar with. And then those are the 3 types of R is the first one is a lexical pronominal, the next one is a reference, and the last one is demonstrative reference. And then the first 2 are found in all of the student composition, whereas the third is found in the most of the composition. And then For the frequency of occurrence of cohesion in the student discourse as found in the present state, no, it's still in the present study and may level the characteristic of the cohesion in English learner discourse, and the high frequent occurrence of lexical reiteration, for instance, is type in learner discourse. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so as you can see on the screen right here, so despite the student familiarity with three types of cohesion, however, they still encounter problems in using the types of cohesion. And then consequently, it is not wise to say that the student have no more difficulties in using the three types of cohesion, although they have been familiar with them. And then the rare of or even the absence of the other types of cohesion is a competitive reference, nominal substitution, Faber 1 substitution, clausal substitution, nominal ellipsis, verbal ellipsis, clausal ellipsis, additive conjunction, adverse type conjunction, causal conjunction, other conjunctive conjunction, temporal conjunction, and the last one is the lexical collocation. And then this is may indicate at least two possibilities. As the first one right here is may indicate that the student have not been familiar with them because their limited knowledge about these types of cohesion, and they did not use them in their composition. And the second is it may indicate that the student do not necessarily use the types of cohesion in their composition. Next slide, please. All right, so here, like to be talking about the reiteration. So there are five item right here that explained by some researcher. The first one is Halliday and Hassan, 1980, and they maintains that lexical reiteration includes the relationship of lexical item to its repetition, synonym, antonym, hyponym, and mononym, or even the relationships of the particular lexical item to another lexical item of the same class. And the next one is the lexical reiteration, and will be better subclassified into the relation of synonym, antonym, hyponym, meronym, or the relation of lexical item on another belonging to the same class. And the next is the states of cohesive harmony indicate how well the cohesion in the student's discourse function as the foundation of coherence. And now Hassan also 1984 degree that of cohesive harmony of a coherent text should be not lower than 0.50. So that's why the average degree of cohesive harmony is 0.40 as exhibited in the student's discourse, and can be interpret that in general the cohesion of the student discourse does not serve well enough as the foundation of the coherence. And referring to all these things, the evidence, the proportion of the composition degree of cohesive harmony lower than 0.50 and is 8.57%. And we may interpret that most of the students under the study cannot yet operate cohesion well, and on the century there are a small number of the students that operate the cohesion well in their discourse. All right, next slide, please. Okay, here I would like to talk about the 5.3. It's about comparison to the other studies. So the subject of the present study only includes a small number of English learner at a particular institute of education, that is 28 sixth semester student of the English department of FPBS IKIP Ujung Pandang, and the problem discussed cover only three aspects of the states of cohesion and the types of cohesion, only frequency of occurrence of cohesion and the cohesive harmony, and then the source of the data includes only 28 pieces of the descriptive compositions, and then it is because of the limitation, the finding of the particular study cannot be absolutely true. So to understand the truth, therefore the findings of particular study is necessary to be compared to the finding of similar studies, and to meet the necessity, comparison is presented in the following section. All right, next slide, please. So here, these are the type of cohesion, as you can see on the screen. So there are 5 types right here. The first one is conducted by Krauthurst, 1981, and his study of cohesion is about in argumentative discourse written by school level in English learners. And his investigation maintained that the learners' discourse is constituted mostly by the use of lexical reiteration. And the second is by Kenner, 1984, and in his study of cohesion in writing by ESL learner, he reports that lexical reiteration appears that the largest proportion reference the second and the conjunction to the third. And then the same finding also supported by the fourth study by Johansson, 1992, and in her study of cohesion in writings by Malaysian and American English learner. And the last one, or the fifth, is by Khalil, 1989. He reports that a slightly different finding, and he reports that lexical reiteration appears the largest proportion and conjunction to the second and reference to the third. Next slide, please. All right, so here is the proportion of the types of cohesion, even though the is reported some by some, same by some, and not at all of a previous studies reference appears that the second march and conjunction appears to the third, and the finding is reported by Kenner, which is I have already been explained before, and these are the table, as you can see on the screen, the comparison of the finding of the recent study that they found. Next slide, please. All right, so we move to the next part, the frequency of occurrence. So there are 3 parts right here. The first one is a study of cohesion, searching for a frequency of occurrence are still rarely conducted, and then the only study concerned with this point is Khalil, 1989, and the next one is because of the rare of this finding of the frequency of the cohesion, the finding of this study, this article present that cannot be compared to the other, and the comparison can only be made between the recent study and Khalil. And then the comparison reveals that the frequency of coherent descriptive discourse written by 6th semester student of English department IKIP Ujung Pandang, and then the result is it's much greater than the expositive discourse written by Arab EFL learner. And the last one is the other words, the finding of the present study concerning with the frequency of occurrence of cohesion is a difference from the finding of the other similar study, and the difference might be due to the at least two reasons. It might be because of different data, expository writing versus descriptive writing, or difference in the subject of study, Arab EFL learner versus Indonesian EFL learners. Next slide, please. All right, so here is the, here is the cohesive harmony, and there are three right here. There are three cohesive harmony. The first one is the study of cohesion concerning with cohesive harmony, and it is also rare. This might be because the fact that the issue of cohesive harmony is still new, and then the theory of cohesive harmony was first issued in 1984 by Hassan, and then the previous study dealing with the application of theory of cohesive harmony is Pangribuan 1992 in a study of development of discourse competence to the English learner. He reports that the average of degree cohesive harmony of composition written by 6 semester student is 0.38, and then comparing to the finding of the present study, Pangribuan's finding is similar, and then the finding of the present study maintains that the degree of cohesive harmony of the student discourse range from 0.20 to 0.63, and then the average degree of cohesive harmony is 0.40. And then in a short, at this point, the present study reports a similar finding of cohesive harmony to the finding previous study. Next slide, please. Okay, I think that's the last part and the end of my presentation. And then finally, we're gonna move to the next presenter, which is the last presenter, and it will be delivered by Ms. Nur Aziza. Time is yours, please.
Okay, well, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to present the last chapter on this research. The last chapter on this research present about summary, conclusion, and the last one is suggestion. Well, the next slide, please. The first is about summary. The summary of this research is the study is intended to investigate the three problems of cohesion. The first one is what types of cohesion that the students use in their written descriptive discourse. The second one is what is the frequency of occurrence of each type of cohesion in the student's discourse? And the last one is what is the degree of cohesive harmony of the student's discourse? These three problems of cohesion referring to Halliday and Hassan in 1980 and Hassan in 1984, 1989. The two methods of analysis are applied in this research. The first is the method of cohesion analysis suggested by Halliday and Hassan in 1980. And the second one is the method of cohesive harmony analysis provided by Hassan in 1984 and 1989. The next slide, please. The second summary of this research is the application of the two methods of analysis has revealed the following findings. Here you can see on the slide there are three following findings. The first one is types of cohesion used by the sixth semester students. Cohesion, as classified by Haliday and Hassan, includes 16 types. The students of the English Department of FPBS, IKIP Ujung Pandang, use 3 to 9 types in their descriptive composition. Most of the students use 5 to 7 types. The common types that all the students use are only 3. The first one is lexical rotation. The second one is pronominal reference, and the last one is the demonstrative reference. The first 2 are used by all of the students. Their composition and are found in large composition. The average proposition of lexical rotation in the students' discourse is 57.28%, and the pronominal reference is 24.04%. The third demonstrative reference also seems common, although not being used by all the students under the study. This type of cohesion is found in a large number of in the most of the composition under analysis. The average proposition of demonstrative reference obtained from this research was 11.18%. The second finding is the frequency of occurrence. The frequency of cohesion in general is 3.50. This means that cohesion occurs 3.5 times in each T unit. In more detail, the examination of the frequency of occurrence of each type of cohesion reveals that some particular types occur much more frequently over the other types. The average frequency of occurrence of lexical rotation is 1.99, which means that this type of cohesion occurs 1.99 times in each T unit. In contrast, with all the types of cohesion occur not more than 0.36 times in T unit. Pronominal reference and demonstrative reference are found as the 2 other types that also occur much more frequently over the others. The average frequency of the occurrence of pronominal reference is 0.55, which means that this type of cohesion occurs 0.55 times in each T unit. Like otherwise, the average frequency of occurrence of demonstrative reference found that 0.36, meaning that this type of cohesion occurs 0.36 times in T unit. In contrast, the frequency of occurrence of each of the types is very low. They occur not more frequently than 0.10 time in each T unit. The average frequency of occurrence of some types is often found 0.0. And the last one is cohesive harmony. The degree of cohesive harmony obtained from the students' composition range from 0.20 to 0.63. The cohesive harmony of more than 0.50 is found in 21.5% 43% of the composition under analysis. The rest composition of 78.57% have degrees of cohesive harmony of lower than 0.50. The average degree of cohesive harmony is 0.40. Referring to Hassan, such a degree is categorized low. To mention once more, that list of degree of coherent text according to Hassan is 0.50. Next slide, please. Okay, the next is about the conclusion of this research. The conclusion of this research, there are three. The first one is the students use 3 types of cohesion in their discourse. They may have been familiar only with these restricted types of cohesion. Even most of the students only familiar with 5 to 7 types of cohesion, as most of them use 5 to 7 type variation of cohesion. The types that all the students have been familiar with include the three. The first one is lexical radiation. The second one is prominal reference, and the last one is demonstrative reference. On the contrary, the students have not been familiar with the other types. Two types that the students are not familiar with at all are the clausal substitution and lexical collocation. The second conclusion is typically that lexical radiation exhibit the most frequent type of cohesion in the student's discourse. This conclusion is drawn from the fact that this type of cohesion occurs very frequently in every student's discourse. And the last conclusion is the students' discourse don't function as well as the foundation of coherence. This conclusion is drawn from the degree of cohesive harmony of the students' discourse. As mentioned before, the degree of cohesive harmony of the students' discourse is low. The low degree of cohesive harmony express that the cohesive of discourse doesn't function well as the foundation of coherence. It reflects that in general, the students don't stay long enough on the similar things they are not about. The next slide, please. The last part of this last chapter is about suggestion to this research. In line with the investigation of the present study, some relevant suggestions are offered. The suggestion include the 3 points here. The first one is the findings reveal an indication that the students might only have been familiar with some types of cohesion, and evaluation study of the mastery of cohesion is necessary to be conducted. An evaluational study is necessary to be conducted to clarify whether or not the indication is true. If the indication is true, then knowledge of cohesion should be given more to the students. The second suggestion is the findings of the present study maintains that lexical radiation typically reveals that the most frequent in the students' discourse. Regardless difference in the functional types such as argumentative, expository, or descriptive types, such as findings support some all of the previous studies of cohesion. Other studies need to be conducted to the discourse written by model writers to see whether or not lexical rotation reveals the most frequent types of cohesion in any type of discourse. And the last suggestion to this research is the low degree of cohesive harmony in the students' discourse support an indication that the students' mastery of cohesion is still poor. As such, the teaching of cohesion should be improved by the teachers or the educators. In the teaching of essay writing, the teachers or the instructors need to show the students some simple text exhibiting different degrees of cohesive harmony. It implies, of course, that the teachers or the instructors need to explain why a particular text is charged to coherent and why another is not. Using this way, the students will understand how relation of meaning is useful to build the text coherence. I think it's all for my part. I give it back to the moderator. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your explanation. It was such a really insightful. So I'd like to say thank you. And then, well, that's the end of our presentation of our topic in this section which we're talking about the chapter 5, right? So maybe or probably for the next session, for the Q&A session, it will be the same as the previous group. So it will continue in the WhatsApp section. So thank you very much.